Hi and welcome to this latest 10x leadership video. I'm not really good at exaggerating things and make them sound better than they are, but if you haven't been using tools like chatgpt already, this might be the best 20 minutes, half an hour you spend all year. So I'm looking forward to this one. This is part of the Modern Leadership series, and this is episode 40, which is about leveraging technology. And what we're going to talk about this week is how to increase your productivity with LLMs. And I'll explain what LLMs are in a minute. So just a quick reminder. So episode 35 is where this all kicked off. And I was talking in that about the sort of constituent parts of being a modern leader. So that's adaptability, leveraging technology, inclusivity. And that's all about how do we as leaders sort of keep up to date with rapidly changing environments, especially in the modern world where technology and other things are making changes much more quickly. And we looked at adaptability in episodes 31, 36 and 37. So if you've not already seen those, it's worth going and having a look. And in terms of the leveraging technology section, which is what we're on now, that was about technology awareness, so AI, machine learning, LLMs, which I'll go on to today, apps and agile, and then systems thinking. And we covered agile in episode 38, so again, if you haven't already seen it, go and have a look. And we covered off AI and machine learning in episode 39. What I didn't have time for last week was talking about LLMs, which are also in the AI space, but just specialised. So just a quick reminder, that AI is the umbrella term for anything or any machine that exhibits human-like intelligence. And one of the AI, I was going to say approaches, but one of the AI tools out there is generative AI. And we talked about the sort of text to image side, so DALL-E and Midjourney last week, about generating images. And I mentioned ChatGPT, but we didn't get into it. So that's what we're going to cover this week, ChatGPT, which is part of LLM. So what is an LLM, you're asking? Well, an LLM is simply a large language model. And how it works is that there's tons of computational power, a load of servers that ingest tons and tons and tons of data. In this case, hundreds of billions of items. And given that ChatGPT, for our purposes, let's just assume that it is a text-based generative AI tool. So it creates text, it generates text based on what you ask it. It also does more than that, which we will see, but what we're going to focus on today is the language side of it, and that's using the large language model. So increasingly, platforms like ChatGPT they've got a whole range of different AI services that you can access, but they are using slightly different technologies usually. So anyway, coming back to the point. Large language models ingest hundreds of billions of items to help it basically work out the relationship between words. And once it's done that, then what happens is when a user comes along and gives it a prompt or engages with it, what it then does is it processes that, interprets what is being asked, and then it responds. And it responds by creating patterns. So it looks at the word that it's going to give you, and then it thinks about the next word that would be most relevant. And really it's doing that based on patterns and the relationships that it's seen between words. And the reason I'm emphasising that is because people think that it's, when you're engaging with it, it feels like you're engaging with a human. I suppose in some ways you could argue that the way that humans work is we understand the relationship with words, we understand the syntax of sentences, and we just use that information to convey an idea. So it's the same sort of thing, but I suppose what I'm emphasising is it's not human intelligence, it's basically pattern matching it's using to respond to the user. So there are quite a few large language models out there. I was listening to a podcast recently. I think, once they've created a new version and it's started ingesting the data, it takes about 6 months for it to fully become fully mature, I suppose is the right phrase. And then they see how well the model's working and then decide whether to release it or not. So there are quite a few large language models out there. My favourite is chatgpt. And you can see the URL or the web link there, chat.openai.com. And that's because OpenAI is the company that's created it. It's had lots of money from Microsoft and lots of other people. But there are other large language models out there, and that includes Gemini from Google and Claude from a company called Anthropic. So my advice would be go and explore. There's usually a free version of each of these tools. See which one makes most sense to you. I've tried all of those three and others, and the one that feels most intuitive to me is ChatGPT. So that's the one that I tend to go to. So this is a leadership video on a leadership channel, and what I wanted to do, and that's what the title of the video suggests, it's about helping us with our productivity. That's what I use ChatGPT for. Sometimes I get it to fact check for me, which is a quick and easy way of doing it. And you could say, well, I could do that with Google or another search engine. But the thing with ChatGPT, as you'll see shortly, and other large language models, is that you can interact with them. And I talk to it like I talk to another human. And what I'm proposing is we go through 5 scenarios. So I've already got ChatGPT to give me, in fact it gave me 25 scenarios because that's what I asked for. And I've picked 5 of them that I think will help illustrate the power and how it can help you in your day-to-day leadership role and help with your productivity. Not only that, but your team and your business. So let's get into it. So the first scenario is something that is fairly obvious, I suppose, which is that it can summarise meetings and in fact documents and give you information. So this scenario is, we've had a brainstorming session and we want a concise action. We want the action points to share with the team. So the prompt that I'm going to give ChatGPT is this one. So that, here are notes from a recent brainstorming session. Can you summarise the key takeaways and provide 3 actionable next steps for the team? And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go into drag ChatGPT in. So I've this is my account. I've got the free version. There is paid versions of it as well, and that gives you extra benefits and extra uploads and those sorts of things. So that might be worth doing for you. It's a very simple interface. So when you load it, it just comes up with what can I help with, and you've got these options here down the bottom. So you could summarise text, you can create an image, etc. I think you can even talk to it now. So you can talk to it like a human and get some response from it. It keeps a history as well if you've logged in and created an account, and that's useful for going back, and you can carry on conversations with it. So I've got chats I've had from months ago that if I wanted to go back now and just say, what did you mean by that, or can you summarise that, or can you clarify this point, it will just jump straight back into the chat and give you the answer. I mean, to be honest, it's absolutely fantastic, and this is only the start. It's going to get better and better and better. So what I've got on my other screen is actually, bear with me a second, I seem to have lost there we go, there's the window. So what I'm going to do is I've got this document here, look, So again, I asked ChatGPT to basically give me a fictitious meeting, and I told it to give me the reading from a meeting that's about 1,000 words long. So as you can see, it's 4 pages, quite a lot of info in there. You know, you could wade through all that, or you could get ChatGPT to have a look at it for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag in the prompt. So bear with me a second. Just going to paste this in. So the prompt that we had was, here are the notes from recent brainstorming session, and I'm just going to drag that file in that you saw. So it's uploading the document, and I've got the prompt, and I'm just going to hit enter. So there's 1,000 words, and as you can see instantly, it's providing me with a quick summary. Now, you know, you might think, well, that's not particularly spectacular, but imagine if you got a series of documents, or you got a really long report that somebody had sent you, and you just want to know, you know, what's the essence of it. It's a really good way of doing things. And again, I think, you know, the benefit of this is, I'm just going to say thanks. That is too long. I tell you what would help if I could type and speak at the same time, wouldn't it? That is too long. Can you summarise it further, please? I'm just going to say I want to include a summary in an email. So it needs to be 2 paragraphs at most. And as you can see, what I'm not doing here is I'm not talking in a particular language. I mean, obviously English, but I'm not having to say things in a certain way. I'm just saying things how I would say them, and it interprets that really easily and comes up with the answer. So I've just asked it now to summarise, so I could put it in an email, and there you go. It's taken 1,000 words in a document, and it's summarised it into 2 paragraphs for me. So I mean, I don't know about you, but I think that's absolutely fantastic. And you can take that and use it depending on the version of ChatGPT that you're using. I've got my OneDrive connected to it, so I could ask it to create a summary document. I might even be able to ask it to create a presentation, and it would do that and put that, save that in my OneDrive. I'm not going to try that today because that wasn't one of the scenarios, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click up here, which is new chat. It's kept my history on the left hand side there. I've just kept it hidden because I've got a load of things I've been asking ChatGPT over the years. I say over the years, probably a year or so I've been using it, and it's just easier than blurring it out. But you will have a history on the left hand side you can look at. So let's just drag that out a second. So that was the first one. Let's go on to the next scenario. So scenario number 2 is an AI augmented succession plan. So you want to use AI to identify and develop high potential employees for future leadership roles. Now, this is the sort of thing that you or I would do as leaders, and we'd have to sit down and think, well, how are we going to do that? Instead of, I mean, you can still do that, of course. I'm not suggesting this replaces us. But rather than wading through this, you can use ChatGPT to give you a head start on that activity. And the prompt I'm going to use is that one there. So assist me in creating an AI augmented succession planning framework. Outline how I can use performance data, personality assessments and development plans to identify high potential employees and prepare them for leadership roles. Now, you and I know as leaders there's quite a lot of content there, and that would take quite a lot of thinking. So just to short circuit that, again what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag chatgpt in. Let's make that full screen, and I'm going to drag in, copy the prompt. I'm just going to paste it in. And again, what amazes me is how quickly it interprets all of this. It's already started typing, as you can see. And it's coming up with, a data collection integration stage, an AI-powered analytics stage that gives readiness scorings, a personality fit, performance analytics, a building development pathways phase. So once you know what people you think you've got, growth plans, experiential learning, mentoring and coaching, continuous monitoring, leadership readiness interventions, evaluating successes and refinement, and then you've got an example workflow. And what you can be doing again is you can ask it to create documents that would support this. If you're after a particular, you're interested in a particular bit, let's just say, what should we pick? Mentorship and coaching. Let's just imagine we've read this properly. This is the first time I've seen the response because I've not used these prompts before. So let's just say thanks. Let's say I treat it like a human. Thanks. Can you provide a more detailed response to the mentorship and coaching element, please? I'd like at least 500 words in the more detailed explanation. Hit enter, and off it's going. So now it's just drilling into that detail and giving us a much more detailed section about mentors and coaches, and how to identify the right ones, personalize the programs, leverage AI, structured and dynamic engagement, group coaching and peer learning. It's still going. Feedback loops and evaluation. Again, I don't know about you, but this is mind blowing, really, isn't it? How long would it have taken you to write this, and to the standard that it's written here? So, I talked about productivity enhancements. If I'd been given that task of coming up with a succession planning framework, I'd be thinking, well, I could probably, knock something out in a day that would be, useful and relevant. This has done it in, or at least it's created the outline for you in a minute. And then you can use the rest of your time refining this and tweaking it. You can copy and paste it into your own documents, and then you could use that as the foundation for whatever, in this particular case, creating the succession planning framework. And you could have it done in, half an hour. You'd have a really good document and a really good plan. You could also ask it, because it's linked to the internet. I think this version has basically ingested the internet up to 2023. So you could ask it for some data that backs up some of this evidence. You could ask it for sources. You could ask it to do all sorts of things. But again, you can see how brilliant it is at helping you be more productive. So let's just drag, in fact, let me just create a new chat. I'm going to drag that out. So item number 3, scenario number 3. Oh, apologies. Scenario number 3 is linked to that. Developing a long-term leadership legacy framework. So we want to create a personal framework for leaving a lasting impact as a leader. And again, that's something that would take quite a bit of thinking. So the prompt this time is, help me design a leadership legacy framework that outlines how I can inspire, mentor and empower future leaders in my organisation. Include actionable steps, milestones and ways to measure success over a 5 to 10 year horizon. And again, I don't know about you, but if somebody gave me that task, I'd be really interested in doing it. And I can do it, of course, and I'm sure you can do it. But you'd be thinking, right, where do I start? Who do I involve? What, how long is that going to take me? Let's see how long it takes. So again, seconds. So objectives: inspire, mentor, empower. You can see the framework structure, actionable steps, the milestones, all the things that we asked for. Empowerment's in there, 5-year plan, launch it, scale it, evaluate the long-term impacts, a self-sustaining leadership pipeline, a culture of continuous leadership development, recognition of the organisation as a hub for nurturing outstanding leaders. So again, I don't know about you, but I think that is a brilliant start. And if this was a real exercise, I'd be now engaging with it again and say, well, okay, thanks for that. How about this? How about that? I might say, well, in fact, let's just do it. Let's just say, thanks. Can you give me an alternative approach, please? So again, if it was you or I, and we, our boss had asked us to do this, and we'd spent, even just a day doing it, and then they just said, yeah, we don't like that, can have another one, your heart would sink, wouldn't it? Whilst I've been talking, as you can see, it's now just coming up with a different way of doing it. So, another example was, I mentioned these 5 scenarios. I asked it for 5 to start with. I then said I want some more that are a bit more creative and things that others wouldn't necessarily think of. And then instantly gave me some other answers. I then said, okay, well, I'd like 20 more, please. And it instantly created 20 more. So you haven't got to, with humans, you're thinking, well, if I ask them to do that, it's going to break them. It doesn't break the internet, of course, because it's a computer. It's just a tool that is designed to do exactly this sort of thing. Hopefully, again, you're thinking there's something really good in that. Actually, what I might do is I might just copy the answers here. No, in fact, I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the prompts in the description. If you want to get the same sort of outputs and answers, then all you need to do is put those prompts in. You won't get exactly the same answers because it interprets what you've said and goes off and works out what it thinks the answer is. Just like humans, that might be slightly different each time, but you'll get something very, very similar. And I would just encourage you to go in there and just play and just say, well, I don't like that, or can you give me more detail, or can you summarise that? Can you create a document for me based on that? I'd like to create an email, a whole range of things that you would normally do, and it will just do it for you. Right, let's create a new chat. Scenario number 4 is role playing. I think this is going to be a really interesting one. So instead of just getting it to give you an answer to something, which is a bit more like a search engine, isn't it? But it's not, because it's using some intelligence behind it. So imagine you're preparing for a conversation with somebody in your team about underperformance, and we all will have to have a chat like that. What you can get ChatGPT to do is basically work like a coach with you. So I need to have a tough conversation with a team member about their recent underperformance. Can you help me role play the discussion? Start with me addressing the issue, and then we'll go through the possible responses. I'm not going to follow this through to its natural conclusion, because that could take some time, and the video is already 25 minutes long. So I'm just going to kick off so you can see how this works. So where's my prompt? Bear with me a second. I'm just going to drag that exact prompt in that I showed you. You can get it to talk in certain voices as well. So you can say, for this session, I want you to answer me, as, I don't know, who did I see the other day? Richard Branson. Pretend that you're Richard Branson and provide answers to me, imagining that you're Richard Branson or a character or somebody who talks in a certain way. Yoda, for example. And it will do that as well. So it's saying, of course, let's role play this. I'll play the part of the team member. You start the conversation and I'll respond accordingly. And the great thing about this, of course, is you can try different ways. You can try different options. You can say, right, let's start off with this route. And what happens if we just go in hard? Let's just say, Bill, I am really, I tell you what, I'm going to have to do me touch typing again. I'm really unhappy with your performance. You are rubbish. What is going on? Now we know as leaders, if you start a conversation like that, it's not going to go well, is it? So let's imagine. Well, in fact, there's a good start. That approach may not be the most constructive way to begin the conversation. It's important to address the issue firmly, but in a way that fosters dialogue. So I might not have been as ridiculous as that, but you could have typed in there what you thought the right start to the conversation was, and it'll give you some feedback. And now it's saying, shall I suggest alternative phrasing? Yes, please. Oh, all the right keys, just not in the right order. And I'm just going to say, okay, let's start with that. What would your response? What would your response be? I'm sorry to hear that. Didn't realise my work wasn't meeting expectations. Could you tell me more about what you've noticed? And how would I respond to that? And you can keep going and going. I've got it to, I've asked it to teach me Spanish in the past, where, we're having a conversation and I've told it what level of Spanish I can speak, and it's asked me certain questions, and then it's helped me guide me through the answers that I've given, or the responses I've given, about whether they're appropriate, whether they're using the right syntax and the right conjugation of the verbs, etc. This is the same sort of thing. So you could be practicing, you could be practicing a presentation, you could be practicing a difficult conversation you need to have. You could just ask chatgpt to give you, if I've got a really difficult situation, what's the best way of approaching it? What's the best phraseology to get people on board without offending them? And of course, what they might say is a good way of providing feedback is through the SBI framework. Funny old thing, there's a video about that on the channel. So situation, behaviour and impact, or the SAID framework, very similar framework, and it will talk you through that and act like the other party. So again, a really, really useful way of using the tool. The final one, let me just open it up and go on to the last one. So the last one is gamifying goal setting for team engagement. So imagine you want to make team goal setting more engaging by incorporating gamification elements. So turn it into a game, where you get badges and those sorts of things, that makes it a bit more fun, so that you can get rewards and challenges. So the prompt I'm going to use there is, I'm running a goal setting session for my team. I want to make it more engaging by gamifying the process. Can you suggest a fun framework that includes challenges, rewards and milestones to keep everyone motivated while ensuring alignment with our strategic objectives. So again, let me just drag in for the last time. And I've done this as well where I've been interested in doing an icebreaker, for example. Can you give me 5 suggestions for icebreakers? And then it gives me some icebreakers. I didn't like them, I wanted some more, just asked for some more. So let's see what it says. Again, this would take a long time to do if you're trying to make it up yourself. So define objectives as epic quests, create challenges to accomplish along the way, start building challenges, encourage personal growth, assign experience points for each task. So as you can see, this is starting to feel a bit like a video game. You get rewards, sort of leveling up, that sort of thing. Or there's, in fact, number 5 is leveling up. So let's imagine, you're not going to do it in this order, but let's imagine you don't know what gamification is. So what is gamification, and why is it a good idea? And what I'm going to say is, imagine I've got to explain it to my team and I want to enthuse them and get them on board. And again, in an instant, you've got the answers. So, what I've been using ChatGPT for is often just giving me the starting point. And then as I think of follow-up questions, I just go in and ask it those follow-up questions. So if you saw some of the chats I've had with it, it goes in all sorts of directions. And I start off with an idea. I do it for videos sometimes. I ask it to give me the outline for a video. I then ask it to drill down into some of the, give more detail. I ask it some clarification points. I ask it things like, what are the key things I need to convey to the viewer? That sort of thing. What summary shall I give? How do I engage and excite people about the topic? So there's all sorts of things you can do with it. Hopefully that has helped you understand why I'm so excited about it and why you should be as well. So those are just 5 scenarios. We could have gone on and done dozens and dozens. What I want to just emphasise about this is how, excuse me, I don't know where my voice went again, is how useful a tool this is. I think it's completely game changing for us as leaders and for anyone in business. And the things that you can do with this and the information you can get is just incredible. And as I've mentioned before in these videos, in fact, you'll recognise this picture from a previous video. I talked before about AI enhancing human performance. In this particular video, we talk about large language models doing that. And again, you can do the long-winded route if you like, cutting the grass with a pair of scissors, or you can use a tool like ChatGPT and other large language models to get a much bigger job done in a much shorter space of time. And for me, it's like having an intelligent assistant 24/7 to answer questions, spark ideas and streamline your day and make you much more productive. So, just like any tool, if there's a tool out there that will do the job, especially a free tool, why wouldn't you be using it? And again, you can use it with your team, you can use it individually, you can help your team and your career as well as help your team and organisation deliver. So my advice would be just go and sign up, go and have a go, have a play, see what it can do. Go and watch some other videos about ChatGPT or Claude or any of the other tools out there, Gemini, etc., and just start playing with it. And really, it's only limited by your imagination. But if you're limited in your imagination, ask ChatGPT. Just say, what questions could I be asking you that would enhance my performance? Or how could you help enhance my performance? And it will just come back and give you a load of ideas. And then you can pick on them, get a bit more detail, or you can just say, I want some more, please. And it'll just keep giving you fabulous information. Now there is, with large language models, there's something called hallucination, where sometimes it gives you dodgy answers. I have to say, in all of my experience so far, I can't really think of many examples where it's done that. But do check the data and info it gives you. Actually, it can also do data analysis. I think I've asked it things like pension information, and I've asked it to do calculations about different types of pet insurance, whether you go for one where you have to, it's all in, or whether you have to pay 20% for certain operations. And it'll do an average calculation based on your pet type. This doesn't just have to be about business. A long video, I know, but actually, as I said right at the start, I'm not prone to exaggeration, but this is an absolute game changer. If you're not already using it, well, you've been missing out, and your colleagues definitely have. So get on it, give it a go, see what you can do. Let me know how you get on in the comments. If you've got any questions or ideas for future videos, again, just reach out. I say it every time, but if you've enjoyed this video, please click on like. And it doesn't cost you anything, but if you can subscribe to the channel, that just helps the channel. And, we talked about resilience in previous videos. It just helps me spend hours each week creating new videos for you to help you become a great leader. And I might just do a video shortly about why that's important. I think, I did that right at the start, but that's 40 videos ago now. So I might just refresh that. And then we've got lots of other videos to do in this Modern Leadership series. So I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.